So I'm going to try to finish implementing the destructor on the Graph3D class and on the CustomPhysics class. The CustomPhysics is the one that is gonna be the component which is missing the checkboxes and the selection as well that I have to do. I'm gonna leave that for after I have everything finished. And then if it is relatively easy, then I'm going to just explore the road environment, which is the Godot node that is responsible for creating the road. Let me put that timer. So I watched a couple of videos on the roads node, but none of them seem to show the version that I want, which is understandable because most people use Godot for other stuff, so they usually show the Sky node. So one thing that I forgot and I just realized before I started streaming is that I didn't test to see if this was working with the member variable that I have in this class. So I'm not assigning anymore to this. So I have this one here, which I think I'm not gonna do static anymore, but I'm not really sure what is best. Because it has to be a pointer probably. So I'm not gonna do static. I'm gonna try not doing static. And then in order to initialize a pointer like this, you have to use memnew from Godot to allocate on their memory pool. But then the problem is here, which is something that I spend a bunch of time investigating and thinking about, which is how signals work on Godot. Because I created this class here for global signals. I'm probably gonna have to change this class at some point because it's not ideal, but I think it's working fine for the stuff that I want there. But there are some edge cases I think where it's not gonna, it might fail because I didn't do the functionality to remove events, to remove signals. But basically this class is the same as signal, but it allows you to send signals from nodes that are sibling nodes without having to pass through the tree hierarchy. So it's just like it's kind of like a context on React. It's like a global object that allows you to route everything through that object, just this class. So the thing that I spent a bunch of time understanding from Godot is how does it work for the emit signal. And so signal has the connect function and the emit function. And the class that connects to the signal has to be the same one that emits the signal. Otherwise, it doesn't run because it checks on the object class. The signal connect and signal emit are both defined on the object class, which is the base class for everything that is going to happen on the scene. So if the signal is not subscribed, if the class doesn't connect to the signal, then it can't emit the signal. But the way that it works basically is based on a variant class that they also built on Godot, and the variant class is used to convert types. So they have a bunch of functionality based on templated programming on C++ that allows them to keep track of the types you send, you connect to the event with, the type of the function, and the types that are emitted by the functions. So because of that, there are only a certain amount of types you can send. And when I tried to send this struct that I created, then obviously failed. So I spent a bunch of time trying to implement this, and I did manage to do it. but then I realized that it doesn't make a lot of sense because the way that they probably recommend to implement custom types that you want to connect to signals is by inheriting from the object class. So whatever type you want to emit and connect signals with, you have to create a type and then inherit from object, and then you have to pass as a pointer because of the way that the whole template path works. And then when the emit signal is going to run, then it's going to, because they overload a bunch of operators, the compiler is going to translate from whatever type you have into the variant class. And the variant class has a bunch of functionality to convert the thing to the object, which is basically just going to hold space in memory for the object you're creating on a member variable of the variant class. So I don't know if I'm not really sure if I tried to, I tested just by passing this. So the problem is that I have to pass the whole object basically. So I think it makes more, like there is another way, which is to define this function as receiving a bunch of different parameters so that I have more flexibility and I can send only one parameter at a time. But then I would have to make this a templated function because the variadic templated function, because then the function would have to receive a variable amount of arguments, and then I think it would complicate things too much. So I think it's just easier to send the whole thing. But then it becomes kind of confusing because I think it makes more sense for me to just update the pointer of this member variable here every time that I send the thing. But at the same time, I need to initialize this pointer in the beginning because the Graph3D class has to work independently of the other class, which is the CustomPhysics. So because of that, I think I have to implement the destructor here. And all I have to do is just use memfree, which is a function that they use to free memory. At some point, I want to spend more time, but understand these functions. But I think basically this one is just gonna use free from C, the free function to destroy memory, and I don't remember really well. Yo, what's up? And memnew, I spent some time. They both use this memory class though. So memnew, I spent some time studying, and it's basically they overload the new operator in C++, and then they also use a trick with this thing here, which makes the new operator work differently based on the way that they overload, because it allows them to put the memory on the memory pool that they have instead of putting the memory whatever C++ is going to put the memory, which is just a random place. So because they overload and they put this empty string here, it allows them to tell the compiler, hey, puts this the memory for this class on this memory pool here, because it's based on the overloaded new operator. It's probably on the C++ of the memory, but for some reason, yeah. So it's this function here, pretty sure. So it just uses this, which I spent some time. And this memory is the class that I have to manage memory, which is gonna use this malloc, which comes from an embedded systems library, I think. It's a kernel library actually, a kernel library. It has a different implementation on malloc, if I remember correctly. And then it's gonna put on this mem usage or max usage, and mem usage probably, which is a global variable, I think. I'm trying to implement this. Someone's asking what I'm doing. I'm trying to implement a destructor for a class that I created and for a custom component on Godot that I created also, based on global signals that I also created. So I implemented a global signals to send data through a global object from one class to another. And because I want to reproduce what I have here, just basically this component here has to be connected with the graph. And I don't want to force them to be on the same part of the tree, let's say. So they most likely are going to be siblings, and I don't want to have to route the data through the parent. because that runs into a problem that React has as well, which is prop drilling. And I think it's just a fundamental pattern, so I think overall it's just better to avoid that. And in order to avoid that, you have to create a global object to route the data through a global object, because all trees are graphs. So whenever the data, the amount of data of the tree exceeds a certain limit, it becomes very annoying to deal with the tree, so you have to create a graph. And to create a graph, you create a global object. And that's basically what I did here, which is this class. So now I have to see if it's gonna work here, because I'm gonna use this other struct that I created here, which is the parameters. This struct is gonna keep track based on these default values here of the values here, basically, of the simulation. So I'm gonna have to assign memory in the beginning here, because on the notification of this thing here, I'm gonna call a function that is gonna run the physics. I think it's gonna be on the process, actually, or the physics process. Physics process probably makes more sense. So I'll put case notification physics process, and then the physics simulation is gonna depend on the values of the Barn sets, so I need to have it. But then every time that I change a value on the custom physics, I'm going to send the value through the function. I'm going to emit the value through the global signals, which this class subscribes to, which has a scope of the signal, so that you can manage the scope of what classes are going to listen to each thing, and then has the name of the signal. So the scope allows you to have flexibility on what portions of the tree are going to be connected to each other. And the name of the signal allows you to obviously put a bunch of different signals on the same scope. So that's basically, so this function here is the one that is going to run whenever a GUI element emits the signal to this scope and with this movement, with this name, which I'm probably going to change now. So it's probably going to be update physics parameters. On this one, I was doing to test the disconnect of the signal. So yeah, I think I implemented the disconnect, but I wasn't sure. The problem was what happens when you send a signal and the thing that subscribed to the signal was deleted. And I think that by default, based on the function that I did there, it already handles that because I copied the function from the normal signal. And this is expected behavior on the normal signal. So on the normal signal, they create a way there where they just basically reallocate the memory or create new memory. So they basically do a copy of the thing in case that happens. But on the stuff that I'm doing here, I don't think it's not going to be necessary, I think. So I just translated the mesh to see if it works. The children of the graph, to see if they move. So I'm gonna stop disconnecting here. Also change the name. Oh, I have to test what happens when I try to disconnect the signal. But I'm pretty sure that I handled that as well. Try to disconnect from a signal that it doesn't exist. I think it's just gonna show a warning there based on the way that I did it. I'm pretty sure I handled that. So here, what I think I have to do is just, instead of doing like this, I just make the value here. Should reflect this one. And this is using dynamic cast from Godot to convert the object type into the other one based on the template. Yeah. Then this function is gonna get all the nodes that's because of the star operator. It gets all the nodes that are of the type mesh instance 3D that are child of the Graph3D. And then I cast them. Yeah, and right now I'm just casting the first one. But obviously, when I'm going to, actually I'm gonna change this. Obviously, like the main point of this is just to update the branch set parameters. But for now, I'm doing like this to test. Obviously, if I wanted to change the type of all of them, I just go on a loop on the children. And then for each one, I do something. But I think all of this is gonna do is just gonna do this line here on the move. I'm gonna change this name as well. So let me think about a good name. Update physics parameters as well. Maybe just update solver parameters so that it doesn't have the same name as the. I think I'm gonna put update physics, and then here I'm gonna update Barnsat parameters. Maybe update parameters. So in case I put more solvers or more stuff, I can do a switch here, just see, maybe. But probably this one is only gonna be for Barnsats. Maybe I'll do the same name as the signal and the function. So update Barnsat maybe. And now I'm not really sure. Those things are the ones that are the hardest usually to figure out, because I have to think about how the thing's gonna scale over time, and obviously it's very hard to know that. So I did think about this a couple of times. So like basically, if I want to implement different solvers or different stuff, then it might make more sense to make the function receive other types of arguments, and then you put a switch inside of the function, then call other functions, whatever. I think makes more sense, true. I'm just gonna put this, true. Update Barnsat parameters. Yeah, I think it's not a big deal. True, it's not a big deal for name of the signal should be the same as the name of the function. So yeah, I'm the destructor, I'm free. So on this one I have to change, and on the spreadsheet I put button here, but the button was another class I was testing, so I think it doesn't make sense. It makes more sense to put it on this one. And this one doesn't need to subscribe. That's the main difference of the class that I created and the class that Godot has. Is that in order for this one to emit signals, it doesn't need to connect to the signals before. So it's more flexible, but then it's like trickier to. I think there's more space for mistakes, probably. So it's been a long time since I haven't done this. The parameters, so it's probably the same. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah, maybe I want to do everything. I don't remember how I was connecting this. That's the thing. So here, basically, I'm looping over the parameters, and then for each one, there's another class I created, which is a custom. It's not really. I didn't do many things with the slider, but it's just a class that automatically creates a slider for Godot, and I'm looping over the parameters and creating a slider for each one, and then I'm connecting the events. This function with the slider. So I think on the slider, maybe. I'm connecting, yeah. So when the slider changes, it's gonna call this function. Yeah, I remember. I think I did this based on the stuff I seen from Godot. So usually this is the pattern on Godot as well. So usually inside of the constructor of a class, you're gonna connect the signal. You're gonna create another class that is gonna be a member variable of that class. And then you're gonna connect the signal to that class. And when you connect, you're gonna put a callback, a function as a callback that it comes from the parent. So when the child emits the signal, the parent is gonna run a function. I think that's a very normal pattern, and probably the other way around as well. So here's the same thing. I'm connecting the signal here, and this is a normal signal, the Godot signal. So you have to connect from the class before you emit. And I'm subscribing the function from the parent, which is this one. And then on here, I emit the value. And this here, this is a signal from Godot, which happens whenever the slider changes. So this signal is emitted by some class along the class hierarchy of the physics slider here. So because I'm connecting here, whenever the class that inherits from this one calls this, emits the signal, this signal here, which happens after the Godot emits the events from the viewport. When Godot's emitting events from the viewport, is going to call a function from the control nodes that you can override. And if you don't override, I think there is a default behavior, and on those functions, the nodes or objects or whatever base class it is, the control node is going to emit standard signals. So for sliders, the standard signal is going to be value changed, which is emitted every time that the value of the slider changes, obviously. So here I'm subscribing this function. So this function is going to run, and this function is going to update the tags of the slider, and it's going to emit signal, which is going to make the parent of this class to run the signal, I think. So it's going to send with the name. These are the arguments that you send to the callback function. So it's going to send the tags, and it's going to send the new value, just attached to the slider, which is going to make this function run with the stuff that is passed here. So the option get tags is going to be the parameter name, and the new value is going to be the new value. And then based on this, it's going to update on the Barnset member variable of this custom physics, which keeps track of the physics parameters. And then it's going to emit the global signal, I think. Yeah, so it's on this one. It emits the global signal, which is going to make the function that the Graph3D subscribes to run, receiving this argument here. So this is the scope, this is the global scope. This is the name of the signal that is emitting and the argument that it receives. And the arguments, the amount of arguments and all this stuff is handled by the variant class. So whatever type you pass here is just going to try to convert to the standard types that the variant class supports. Which is going to be vector 2, vector 3, I think. Maybe vector 4 as well. I think all vectors. Then it has int, float, boolean. I think they're standards, and also some enums. I do think they're enums. And then anything that inherits from object, which has to be a pointer. So it's going to call basically this function from the Barnset, and it's going to pass the parameters there that it updated on the slider. And then here, I just update the parameters on this class with whatever's passed here, because I'm sending the whole thing, so it's going to update. So they have to be synchronized. That's kind of the problem, though. Yeah. So maybe I do have to do some control flow here, because I need to specify which parameters. Yeah, so I think that's what I'm going to do, actually. So here, instead of doing like this, I cast this first, and then I do the same switch there. And then I only update the values that were updated. Because otherwise, if you change the values on the Graph3D, and then you send the other ones, it's just gonna revert everything to the defaults. So I think I have to do this. So I create a pointer here, and then I just copy this stuff, basically. So now I have to compare, I think. Yeah, so I just do Barnes data is different than Barnes set parameters data. And maybe it's better to do it the other way. It's less confusing, I think. And I think it doesn't matter to use this else if else here. So the difference between using if else, else if, and using a bunch of if connected is that when you have a bunch of if, when you have a bunch of if one after the other, it's gonna run all of them. But when you have a chain of if else statements, they only run once. So like for example, if this one is true, then the other ones don't run. So maybe it is better to. And now I'm not really sure if I should change the other one though. The problem is that the other one is only. So I think on this one I should put a bunch of if statements connected, or not connected, but because the other one I think it makes sense to do else if because you're only receiving one value here. So it's gonna be only one of them. But on the other one, because of the condition, I'm not gonna be able to know which one. So I have to run all of them, I think. So I think it makes more sense to put if. And it's just easier as well, like to avoid. So gravitational constants. This is gonna be kind of annoying. This is kind of confusing each other. So I'm basically checking to see if they're equal, and if they're not, it updates. Oh, I forgot to change there. Maybe this is less confusing. So after I do this and I put mem3 on the other one, then I'm gonna test just if it works. And now I think it is probably correct. So whatever value is different is gonna update the parameters, and then I'm gonna use this one that is member variable from the class to update. So think of this. I think I can test. So the main thing that I wanted to, oh, I have to disconnect here as well. So let me have this to disconnect on the destructor. So this part I remember I was confused by, and I'm still kind of am, because it's not very clear. I did based on the ID, which is every object on Godot has a object ID class, which keeps track of the ID of the object, and the ID is used on the global slot that I think is object slots, that the name of the global object. That is a global variable that keeps track of all the objects on the thing. And each one has a unique ID, which I think I don't think I'm pretty sure that it is. Pretty sure that it is based on a static global variable as well that increments by 1 every time you use memnew to initialize another object. Is gonna update, so each one has a unique ID, so I'm using the instance ID of the thing to disconnect. But the thing I wasn't sure is whether or not to do this, because it might be interesting in some situations to have classes that, yeah, but I'm not really sure though, like classes that don't disconnect when the class is destroyed. But I'm not really sure if that makes sense. I think it kind of doesn't. Because the main idea would be, for example, to update the class even though the scene changes, for example. But I'm not really sure if that makes sense. So I'm gonna leave it like this first, for now. And on the other one, I don't need to remove because it doesn't connect. So I just need to delete the thing on the destructor. I'm pretty sure that I think I didn't. I don't remember if I have to do this. I'm just gonna put declare here. Pretty sure you have to. I don't remember for sure. What you put like this. And the same thing on the other one. On the physics slider as well. A physics slider, I should probably also implement a destructor. So here, mem3. I'm not really sure if this is gonna work, but whatever. And then I think I have to do the same stuff that I did here. And just delete. This is the question though, like. Yeah, so actually I'm gonna implement a function on the. This is an interesting question. Because now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, what should I do? Because if this class is gonna delete the other one, then should I put on the destructor to delete this stuff? I think I'm just gonna implement a function on this slider. Or maybe on this one, actually, I just make the slider equals to no. Oh no, I have this. No, I had as a child. I have a vector of sliders. So I'm gonna ask ChatGPT if it knows. I think I have to implement on both, so I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT. Maybe I don't need to delete. No? It's weird because I'm pretty sure I've seen like on the headless stuff that I created, I had to delete because it was leaking if I didn't. And I was, oh, but maybe it deletes them. I think it deletes them because it's a part of the tree. So the need to implement. Oh, I remember this. So actually, I think I don't need to delete the objects. So there's functionality on Godot. So because every node is going to be a child of the sync tree, the sync tree has some functionality that is going to traverse the whole tree and is going to call mem3 for each one. I think I remember seeing that because I studied this when I was implementing the headless code. Because in the headless code, since the nodes are not part of the tree, it gives a warning message there that you have to delete stuff. It's basically here. So it's this function that I created. And I also, yeah, I asked for help for ChatGPT on this one, just a recursive function. It's basically traversing the root node that I have here. And then it calls, is mem delete, not mem free. Hmm. No, but I think, yeah. I'm pretty sure on the other class I also implemented something. But I think it's probably the same thing. And it's not the same thing, but it's similar. Choose mem delete and mem free. But on this other class, I pretty sure I implemented something as well. Just called mem delete on the HT manager. Yeah, but now I think I don't need to implement the destructors there because it's gonna be automatically. Because the sync tree is gonna remove everything. So on this class I don't think I need to do anything. I'm gonna comment this out. Maybe I don't need to subscribe the functions here. This bind method is gonna put the function on the class DB class, which is a class that keeps track of all the types on Godot. It's gonna allow the editor to know about the function. But for this case, I think it doesn't matter that much. You just have to put the names of the parameters here, but it also doesn't matter that much what you put here, I think. It can be a different name based on other functions that I've seen from Godot. So probably better to put the same name. And then here I put the name of the function and the name of the function. So let me... so here the only thing I have to do is just disconnect that thing. So let me think. I think that's pretty much all I have to do. Oh, I forgot to put add nodes here. Add graph node. So let me see if it builds. Oh, also, when you are gonna connect the signal, you need to use this macro here. The similar logic from the other stuff. So when you want to add a member variable so that is exposed on the editor, you use add property macro, and then you pass like this format here, and you need to create a getter and setter functions on the class, so Godot knows how to update the thing, and also here is going to be the name of the class that is referred to the type if the class is an object. So if you have an object that is a member variable of a class, you use variant object here. Then here's the name of the member variable, and here's the type of the class the member variable is. And I think here you put this int if it is a resource, which means that it is going to be a graph. So it's going to be initialized as a graph, and then whatever type the graph is on inside of the templates. Oh, I think I was getting this error or something similar like this. So this error comes from the variadic template stuff from the variant class. So it's because they create a bunch of structs and then they have a bunch of macros to initialize structs that are gonna support the translation of types on the variant class, so that you're able to pass from one point to the other to the emit signal. And this error is related to one of those structs there because it doesn't find the type. That's the problem. So I think this is the reason why, but I'm not really sure why it's doing this now because it was working before. So it has to be because of the mem but it's kind of weird. So it has to be coming from this. Maybe I have to pass as like this. Let me try like this. I think if I pass as a reference, it's gonna comply. So it's better to pass as a pointer. I guess I can click on this stuff here and explore the templated things again. Just find the types that are supported. Or maybe it's because of the bind method. Maybe that's... No, but I don't remember if it was on this class. Problem is that if I make this as a resource, if I inherit from resource instead of object, I think I'm not going to be able to pass. It might be because of the constructor, but I think on structs it should be public by default. Yeah, I don't think that is this. It's saying that function was implicitly deleted because a data member invokes a deleted or inaccessible function. So it might be talking about the custom slider or custom physics. Base class invokes a deleted or inaccessible function. Or it might be because no, but it is public. Like, the weird thing is that when I think this is the reason it's either the class DB thing, but I do remember having a problem with the class DB. But I think the class DB problem was related to the global signals, and it was on the global signals class. So it's either because of something like that, or because this bind method here, or because I'm initializing with memnew on this one no. So I guess I can try to like just do the task to see which one is which or which one is responsible. But these error messages I'm pretty sure that is related to the variant. So it's something related to the memory. So on the creation of the objects, so it's more likely to be memnew, I think. But it's something related to memory and how the variant class from Godot is gonna handle the classes. Function was implicitly deleted because a member invokes deleted. I think it's because of this thing. Let me try to see. So there is this thing that I can do if it is this, is to instead of using barn set on this class, I just specify the values one by one. Oh, so it's probably because of the global signal then. It's complaining about the constructor, I think. So I think it's complaining about the constructor because when I pass like this, and it might be because on the class I don't have a default. No, I do have a default constructor, but I don't have a constructor that passes us to pass it as a reference or something like that. So let me remove this and see what happens when I pass like this. Because I think when I pass like this, it's gonna create a copy, which is gonna run the. Yeah, but this is a problem as well, because it's not passing the same. So I need to figure out how to. Let me see if I wrote down the thing there, because I'm gonna ask GPT. Maybe if I cast as an object first. So I'm gonna try to first compile without both. It's either, but I don't think that's the error is related to. It might be related to the mid global signals though that are implemented here because of the the conversion from this variadic template to a variant. But I'm pretty sure, I, yeah, I'm 100% sure that these error messages here are because of the variant. So this happens because these structs here are created with types, created with macros for each type that the variant supports. So it's complaining about something related to this, but I'm not really sure what. Cannot convert argument 1 from const string to string. Oh, but this is another function. Oh, it might be because of the name here? I do remember that these templates here are a nightmare to decipher. And so I guess I can try to change the name of the signal, and I also can. I'm gonna comment this out, just see if this is the problem. I think it's something related. It might be the name of the signal. It's the same name of the function. But I don't understand why, if that's the case. I'm gonna delete this stuff here. So the next thing to try is to change the name of the events. Oh, it might be because of this. No, no, I don't think it's. So update barn stats. Yeah. So the name of the event there has to be the same name as here, because otherwise it can't subscribe. But I'm gonna try to change the name, but I'm not really sure if is this the error, because I'm 100% confident that it was working before. So I'm just gonna put update parameters. But I do remember that there was an error, and I don't Yeah, I did something to like just I think it was related to the class DB and the global signals class. Hey, what's up? Yeah, but trying to figure out the all the types is gonna be very annoying, I think. Because I remember I had to spend a bunch of time. But maybe this time I'm already gonna know because I already have a rough idea of how it works. But it's still very confusing because there's a bunch of templated functions, so it gets very annoying. Yeah, I am Brazilian. So I'm pretty sure now that I have the same names there. Thank you. I should be, or maybe. No, I don't think this is like. I don't think the two signals having the same name is the problem. So, thank you. So it's not the name. So the only explanation has to be, but I'm pretty sure that I commented out now. Oh, it might be because of the type here. But this might be the issue. So let me try to remove and just do this. Just see what happens. It's gonna be a problem, but whatever. And the problem is that like it's very confusing to understand this stuff here. So this is the issue. I do remember. So like if I spend some time, I'm pretty sure I can figure out again what kind of types it accepts there. But it's gonna be annoying to look into it. Let me do the way that I was doing before. Yeah, this becomes a problem. So I'm just doing this to test. If it works, then I think about it. I probably should spend time trying to understand why it's not working like this because it's probably gonna be something that I wanna do all the time. Should pass custom types there on the signals. So here is complaining for Graph3D. String color. I'm pretty sure this function is the one that is gonna run on the emits. Oh, it might be because of this, but yeah, I don't think it makes sense, should be. Because these functions here are related to the emit signal event or function. Or comply class template member function. Oh, it might be actually this. Right, I think it's this thing here. So why is this a problem? And this is just from the thing here. Let me see. So zinked string const color vector 3 floats. So it's saying for a string, I think. So maybe if I remove this. Hmm. The problem is that I think it has physics slider on some of this. Converted identifier not found. So it might be because the class B doesn't accept the reference to the string. But I do think that there's something related to Barn sets as well, because there's also an error that shows t equals custom physics. Hmm. So maybe the error was that. Let me try to remove the static now. Let me do like this first, then I'll try the other stuff again. Yeah, we use this undefined struct. So I'm gonna try the pointer again and all this stuff. So so pointer. I still have to figure out, I think based on what I've seen, use this other macro here to put member variables that are vectors so that you expose to Godot. But maybe it is useful actually, so that I can access, because sometimes when I was testing things, I wanted to see the edge from the graph, but obviously I couldn't do it because I didn't subscribe here. So I had to create another graph edge mesh separated from the Graph3D. And based on the way that I'm doing things now, the Graph Edge 3D doesn't create anything on the constructor, so I have to manually put on the editor to set the values. So And now let me think of this. Yeah, so I have to change here. Yeah, so there's a pointer. The other one is passing like this. But this might be an issue. So I'm gonna test like this first, and then if it works, I'm gonna test passing as a pointer instead of the whole thing. Because what I'm thinking about is that it might fuck up because it might run the constructor for this and just pass one with the default values without passing the one that has the values updated. This is probably gonna work, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Nice. So let me try to pass as a pointer instead. I have to try to pass as a pointer. I'm gonna do both, try to both. And then if it works, then I try to put the name again as the same name. Doesn't work, I test one, then the other. Yeah. Tempting to reference so it was both things probably. That's why I was confusing the error message. Tempting to reference a deleted function. This is the issue. Yeah, so I'm gonna ask. I'm pretty sure I wrote down here. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT this. Yeah, so this is what I was thinking. So because I don't have that constructor, I have to study more this differences in constructors. I think this is one of the most confusing parts of C++ because it's related to the references and the right-hand side, left-hand side differences, and also the deduction of type of pointer types. Because when you have a reference to a reference, then it becomes very weird with the types of the pointers. and you have these constructors, different constructors you can use on different situations, where some of them are gonna make a right-hand side value should become left-hand side. So left-hand side is addresses in memory, and right-hand side is data. So there are some situations where you want to view data as an address instead. So go from right-hand side to left-hand side because of some weird situations with C++. So these parts are very confusing. I need to review them again or try to. The thing that is hard is that there isn't too many resources about this out there, because I think it depends a lot on the situation. So it's kind of hard to create videos about it. I'm not sure if this is gonna work because it's been a long time, so I don't remember really well. But I think I did another struct inside of this one, so that's because I did this one based off the stuff that I did on 3JS. So each one has a default value, which is the value that it starts with, then the minimum and the maximum for the range, and this step, which is how quickly it goes from one value to the other. So I think I did everything based on this. Also, I have a hash map here. Also, probably initialize the. Yeah, but this is a problem actually. Hmm. Let me think. Yeah, now I remember. So I might have to change this because it's not gonna be. Yeah, I think I'm using the hash map there to loop over and to initialize everything. So I can't change the value directly. I need to change the value of the. Or maybe I can because this one represents the. I think this one is just for the beginning, for the initialization, but this one is going to be the default value. So is the value that is initialized here. Yeah, so the default value is this one. The other ones are just for the initialization. So maybe I can do like this, but it's kind of bad because. But I think it doesn't matter that much because all that matters is the. It matters in this context, but like these ones only the hash map here only matters for the initialization because I'm gonna loop over this, and then for each parameter, I'm gonna have these values here, and I'm gonna use these values to create a slider for each one. But the values that matter for updating is these ones because these ones contains the actual value of the thing. So when you move the slider, you should move only these values, I think. Because the slider already updates itself before it emits the signal, so it's already synchronized. So I don't need to update the value outside of the struct and the value here, I think. Maybe it's kind of bad, but I think it's good enough. If I want, I can create another function and then update both values if they are the same. So, but I think the default value makes more sense to always stay the same because it has to be like the initial value, not the current value. So I think this way does make sense. And these values are the ones that are updated, and the default value is the one that it starts with. So I think it should be like this. Yeah, but the only question that I have now is if I don't pass as a pointer when it creates the copy, if it's gonna have the same state. We should make a comment somewhere. It's almost over. Do not pass branch set parameters as a reference or pointer when emitting a signal in Godot. Copy. The behavior depends on whether you have implemented the proper copy constructor. If you haven't implemented a custom copy constructor, it's possible to generate the default copy constructor for you. Performs a shallow copy of memory variables. This means that if branch set parameters contains any dynamically allocated memory. True. Godot's object inheritance. The copied original sharp pointer should the same memory as the original. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, so I think this is fine. I'm gonna write a comment here to explain this. Not sure if this is the right way to say it. A copy constructor. I'm just gonna leave it like that. A reference copy constructor. Maybe I don't think I'm not really sure. I maybe should write the comments. Uh, I'm just gonna leave it here. Next time is easier to. If I get this error, if I forget and get this error next time. Yeah, this is weird. So What did I do now? Maybe I changed something again? So now it's custom physics. And I'm pretty sure I saved this. Let me try again. Oh, so it's string. So it's probably because of this. The same error. So I'm probably gonna have to... But this one, it doesn't receive, yeah. So I think it's the same error that I was getting before. So if it works, I'm going to open Godot and try. Just put the two things there and then run and then see if it changes the... I think I'm gonna remove the other ones, so there's less chance that it's because of the other stuff. And I'm gonna see if it changes the position. For now, it should change the position because of what I have there. So it should just translate the first child mesh to the theta position, which is gonna be whatever value it has there, I think. I'm not sure if I tested with this one. I think I only tested with the button. Yeah, so, but I'm pretty sure that I tested with the... I tested the sliders separately, I think. But I don't think I tried any time with both of them. But as I change the value of the slider that represents the theta, you should change the position of the... You should move, translate accordingly to in the x-axis as for the first child of the graph 3D. So based on theta here. Yeah, I think after... I'm not really sure. Since the timer went out, I'm probably not gonna study the environment. Maybe I'll just look into it a little bit, so I don't have to change the title of the stream, but I think I'm not gonna spend too much time. So after, if this works, I'm just gonna... so the next thing is gonna be the barn set. But after I figure out good default environments, the other thing I was looking at is shaders. That I looked into a couple of tutorials that they use visual shaders and custom shaders, and it seems very interesting as well because it allows you to customize a bunch of stuff. So, but I'm not really sure. I think that's gonna be like a rabbit hole, so it's probably gonna only worth it to look into this way later, I think. So I'm just gonna remove this, and then I'm gonna add again. And the other one I think is custom physics. This is the thing as well. It's kind of weird because on the GUI elements you have to change on 2D, but the other stuff you change on 3D, so it's kind of confusing. But on the scene they show up, I'm pretty sure, on the same thing. Oh, I'm curious now. Yeah, this is the thing. I'm not really sure. Because it's not gonna update the edge. That's the thing. Yeah, but I can put there because that function is only should tasks anyway, so it's not going to be the function that actually does stuff. The thing that is going to be responsible for changing the state of the graph is going to be on the physics. On the notification physics process, I'm going to put a function that's going to run the solver, which is going to be based on the Barn set parameters, and that function is going to update the values of the positions of the nodes. And on the function that updates the values of the positions of the nodes, I'm going to update both things. So I'm going to update the nodes and the edges. So for that one, I might have to, I'm probably going to do this as well, which is implement, which is usually I have to do this on the other stuff. Every time that I do this, which is whenever I have a, it's not showing the edge here. Whenever you have a graph, is usually useful to have a data structure that is going to have, is going to be a map that is going to map, the key is going to be the node IDs, and the value is going to be a vector of the edges that is connected to. So usually, I think that the better graph implementation is adjacency list, but then it becomes very confusing to understand. Or a matrix where like it's zeros and ones, and then you connect, you put the values, you put on the rows nodes and the columns nodes as well. Then you put one if they have an edge and zero if they don't. But that implementation is very confusing. Oh, this is another problem that I have here. I'm not really sure why it's happening, but it seems that it starts off on the wrong. The value of the range of the slider here doesn't represent the number in the beginning, and I'm not really sure why this is happening. Alright, so it seems that's it's not working. So there's a problem with memory. So I might have to implement that constructor. I think when I tested with the button, it was working, but it was a completely different thing as well. So I think that the problem here is something to do with memory, obviously. And it's probably because of this thing of passing the... I should be initializing here. I wonder, so I'm gonna test to see if I can compile with static here. But I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be because of this thing here. Oh, maybe, no, yeah. I was gonna say that I don't have the add property macro here, but it's only necessary on this other class here. Add signal, not add property. But I think it's probably not this signal. It should be the one that I have there, so. Oh, it might be because of this. So I think it's not initializing the value correctly because of the way that I'm converting here. I'm not really sure. Because I'm using this from the string class. Because I have to set it as a text and I'm passing a double. But it seems that, yeah, if I test the thing without the thing, yeah, let me actually do that actually. So like remove this thing here and test only with the custom physics. That's a good idea. So I think it is probably the constructor there. So like I can't pass as the whole thing because the other one is a pointer. But I'm not sure if that's the case. The other thing I can try to do is, yeah, but I'm pretty sure I tried this as well, to change from receiving a pointer to receiving a reference here, but I think it's not gonna work. And then it's also a problem because I don't think I'm gonna be able to cast. So this changes the thing? Hmm. This is actually interesting. Oh no, this is because of the events. Oh, never mind. So I have on this one I have to disable the events for the camera. Like I said, I have to figure out how to do this. It's another annoying thing. It's not moving the thing because it's triggering the event from the camera when I touch on this thing. Yeah, but the volume is working, so obviously it has to be because when you pass there. Also need to figure out how to put a margin on this one. So let me see. Yeah, but I know that's not. I'm pretty sure that it's not gonna work like this. So. So probably the easiest thing to do is to implement the copy constructor and then try to pass as a reference or as a pointer. 'Cause I think the problem is that this is a pointer and then I'm passing like that here. But I'm not 100% sure. That's the issue. I think I'm gonna try to do this another time because it's already past the time there and I don't want to spend too much time now. But I'm pretty sure that this is the issue here. So it's something that is going on when you pass the value here instead of the pointer. Even though this is a pointer. Yeah, so now actually, yeah, maybe it was making sense actually. I was just confused because this is a pointer already, so maybe it's not because it doesn't have the copy constructor. Because this is a pointer initialized on the class. But then for some reason here, I think that's something like when you try to access the values here, it probably doesn't have, like it's a dangling pointer. That's the only explanation I think that makes sense. Oh, so maybe, oh it was thing ready. I'm just gonna change back. Hmm. I think that's so. Maybe I can check first, just see if that's there. So I'm gonna ask ChatGPT how to check, just see if this exists. I don't think it is object slicing, but it might be. Object slicing happens when the type is deduced. So because I'm passing from the type that derives from object, it cuts the values from the derived type and it only passes the ones from the object. But I think it's unlikely because I remember, I'm pretty sure that I tested to access the value directly from the stuff that I'm receiving there, but I don't remember it all because it's been some time. Yeah, so the first thing I'm gonna try is this, just to see, but I have to put everything, I think, just to see if it's not gonna crash. Because obviously, if it doesn't crash, then I know that this is the assignment that is creating the dangling pointer. But it might be because of object slicing. So when you pass the value from there and you try to access here, it doesn't have anymore because it cut out when you deduce the type from burn search to the object. But it might be something else as well. But I'm pretty confident that is a dangling pointer. Because it's the only thing that makes sense to crash like that. Oh, the other thing that I have to check is whether, but the thing is, I'm gonna change this function anyway. I was gonna say I have to check whether or not there are children, or there is this mesh 3D here. But this situation, obviously, there are gonna be because I'm adding here. But since I'm gonna change the function, it's not gonna be the purpose. I don't think I need to fix anything. I'm just gonna move I already moved the functionality here, so I'm just gonna delete this. When I make sure that this works, I'm just gonna delete the whatever functionality is not necessary. Just gonna update the parameter here, and then on this function is the one that I'm gonna. So I have to see obviously how to implement burn sets, but I'm gonna try to implement it here. So I'm probably gonna create the octree on another file. Just create the class for the octree, and then figure out how to use the octree to update the positions and everything like that. I might have to, because I still didn't add the velocities and forces that the graph node has. So I might have to do that as well. Because I do remember on the other times that I did this that it is necessary to have, it's not necessary, but it's better to have these things here. So use the velocities and the forces that you calculate from the solver to update the positions. But I didn't put this stuff here. I didn't create the vector yet and put this stuff on the thing. It's not a vector actually, it's gonna be just a value here. But I didn't put setters and getters for these values. Yeah, this forces and velocities of the nodes. This last thing I'm gonna try, then I'm gonna stop. Right, I have to go to the bathroom. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna crash. So yeah, it's something related to when it's passing the thing for whatever reason. So I have to figure this out. But I'm gonna stop here now. It's already timer stopped. So I'm gonna try to figure this out off stream and maybe on stream next time. And then continue to develop the stuff. But I assume that probably they obviously based on the tasks that I did there now. I think it's something to do with the pointer here because of the way that Godot manages memory for the classes, but I don't understand why though. So this is the thing. It shouldn't be the function. So I guess what I can try to do, yeah, next thing that I'm gonna try to do off stream is just gonna comment this the emit signal and the connect from the other class and then see if it crashes, which I think is not gonna crash probably. And if that's the case, then I have to figure out how to change this so that it is able to. It might be something on the implementation of the global signal class as well. So I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of time figuring out. So yeah, see you next time.